My name is Mandy Cruikshank. 22 years ago, a new story began in my life. I purchased 13 acres in the Derwent Valley, Tasmania. The house is over 100 years old. It was advertised as a little bit of everything. And indeed, a little bit of everything has happened in my life. Lots of little stories to tell. Stories that I would never have imagined that would ever have happened. But they have, and I feel it is time for them to be told. It is rural, and sometimes it's like living in a little cocoon. There's so much beauty around. In the winter, I see the back of Mountfield National Park, and the snow comes sometimes right down to the bottom, but not very often. It is like each season, almost like a chapter in a book. Each season holds such amazing beauty and energy, and living in those seasons is what opens us up to things that perhaps I want to try and tell you about. It is how the artist in me has emerged. The musician in me has emerged. The writer, and even the mystic. They all seem to have emerged in the last 10 years of being here. I guess we all have stories, and sometimes we think, oh dear, just another story that we have to listen to. But stories are powerful. They actually help us to look at where we are, and sometimes it's important to just make a point in our lives, and instead of moving forward all the time, aspiring for new goals and new ways of being, it's important to stop and to take a look back and to actually realize that we're not going to just keep going in a straight line, that we eventually, as we move into older age, that we need to start turning our life around into a circle and to some form of completion. But in that circle and that form of completion, we are actually expanding it out still. We're still being creative. We're moving it out. It's no longer our story. We're sharing it to others that may be inspired by just something that I've said through the videos that I will continue to make. I remember when I first came out here to begin this journey, I read a book, and it was of a spiritual nature. It was an interesting medium. It was a little bit not quite my grounded way of spirituality, but some of the stories she told were absolutely amazing. And what struck me was, wow, I would really like to experience some of her experiences that she had written about. Obviously, my experiences have to be different, but I realize as I look back on that story that there was something stirred in me, and it made me desire something a little bit deeper within me, rather than a lot of the external stuff that we get really involved in. And so who knows? I hope that likewise I will be able to stir something in you to just maybe you can also find your own way of experiencing something a little deeper, a little more fulfilling. The first 10 years of being out here, I have failed to mention that I married a man that I loved very much, but I also found many challenges within that marriage, and I think he was the very important factor in my life for those 10 years that actually went a little bit beyond the normal spirituality understanding, and I found myself opening up to many amazing levels of grace, the embodiment of grace, lessons that I had to learn. But that was only the beginning of the journey. I remember the day when I thought I've really had enough of this grace stuff. An amazing feeling when you experience it, but really I just wanted to live a normal life. I'd had enough. So the marriage broke, and that's when I found myself in a community that, although it is beautiful, it is very remote as well. And then I had to find new ways of being. I think it was when my journey really began. I started a bed and breakfast, and people, despite me being told that it wouldn't work, people walked through my doors. They came from all over the world. It was like a relationship of life that expanded out both ways. Conversations that enriched both the receiver and the giver. It was like a link that I didn't know I needed to complete my story. And sometimes we have to listen to that link, listen a little bit more deeply to what is actually wanting to be called forth in our life. I leave you now to enjoy a chant I have played in my lounge room. It was difficult to record. My fingers wouldn't work, and I had to take it into my heart, and somehow my fingers worked a little bit better. When I started to put it to my program, it was as if it had somehow opened the door for me, and I started producing my first video. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the chant.